Welcome to Cooper Talk. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, and remember, I'm only as hip as my guests. I have to tell you something, people. It does not fail every year in either July or August, but right now we're in the beginning of August. I get a summer cold, and it's not one of those colds, like it doesn't affect my head, it affects my chest, and it gives me the worst cough. And what I hate about it is, Joanne, she has very sensitive ears, and she's always like, oh my God, that cough is so loud. So at night, when I wake up and have to cough, I don't want to cough out loud because I don't want to wake her up. So I cough into the pillow. Then I'm thinking, as I cough into the pillow, I'm just sleeping on the pillow, and I'm never going to get better. And the cough is so bad today, this is no lie, that our showers are both bathrooms, upstairs and down, they have loud fans. I don't notice it, but she does. And so this morning, she was in the shower, and she could actually hear me coughing. And I tried to blame it on the birds outside, but it didn't fly. So anyway, I have my Ricola, so I'm going to be good. And we have a great guest. And my guest is Keith Powell. How you doing, Keith?
How's it going?
Good. Hey, I did not know you were from the Philadelphia area.
I am. I'm a Philly boy.
I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, right across the bridge.
That's amazing. Yes, I dated a girl or two from Cherry Hill.
Most people did. It's
Yeah.
So as you were born in Philly. Now, how long did you live there?
Well, I had a bit of a weird track. I was born in Philly and stayed there for, a lot of my childhood. And then I moved to California. And then I lived in California for most of my elementary school years. And then moved back to the East Coast for middle school and high school. But I moved right outside of Philly into Delaware.
Now, as a kid, did you always act? Because I know you've done a lot in theater and you've been involved in this business for a long time. When did you know you wanted to act or be funny? Or when did you know you had talent? I mean, at what age did talent start coming out? Or what age did you know that you said, hey, I want to do this?
Oh, wow. What age? Well, I feel like I've been... I feel like I wanted to do it. Well, see, here's the deal. I was born in a house where I was an only child. I was the youngest, and it was a house full of women, so I was the only male. So I always feel like I was always at like the center of attention. So I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that I wanted to become a performer, because I was always in the center of attention. So I don't know. I mean, I wanted to do it for sure when I went to college. I went to NYU. But I'm not entirely sure, like that moment when when a spark happened and I went, oh, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I always wanted to perform ever since I can remember, really.
When did you actually start performing? I mean, were you a child actor doing plays? Were you in the school plays?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I did a lot of plays in high school. So I would say high school is when I started performing. And I wanted to do television and movies, even then. And I would say that I didn't get my first professional job until I was 19. I did a Wendy's commercial at 19, and I think that was the first professional thing I ever did as an actor.
That must have been great. I mean, especially a commercial at that age, it must have been a cool feeling. Was it one of your first auditions, or had you been auditioning?
Oh God, no! I had been auditioning for about 2 years by that point. So I might have been 20, because a manager saw me in a play my freshman year of college, and then he started sending me out on auditions. And it took about 2 years of steady auditioning before I booked my first commercial. And it was a rough 2 years. It was rough. But, like, you're a kid. So you just get knocked down and get back up again,
Now, how did you decide to go to NYU? Did you have other choices? Or was that your first choice? Or were you saying, I want to follow this, and this is the best place to be at?
Yeah. Boy. These are questions I haven't thought about in a while. So forgive me for being inarticulate about it.
Oh, it's all right. I like to do my research. I just like to talk.
I love this.
So,
No, I love it. I love it. I think I always wanted to go to NYU. NYU had, like, especially in the 90s, NYU was a very mythic, romantic place. And I think that I was just caught up in the romanticism of going to, like, living in New York City and going to NYU. So I even in high school, I wanted to go to NYU. I was accepted into Carnegie Mellon, and Hofstra. I only applied to 3 schools. I applied to 4 schools. I did not get accepted into Juilliard. So I only applied to 4 schools. 3 of them, accepted me, and it just always seemed like NYU was a no-brainer for me.
So you go through the program.
Yeah.
You graduate.
Yeah.
And then what do you decide to do? Because I know I've talked to a lot of people who have gone to theater, gone to school like NYU, and they want to do theater, but then they just find out it's so hard to make a living doing theater, and things happen.
Oh, right.
What was your path once you got out of college? You already had a commercial under your belt, so what was
it was a very I can tell you all about that path because it was really interesting of how I was able to build a career. When I graduated from NYU, I got hired doing an educational theater tour, and I went around to public schools performing in plays that were basically anti-bullying plays. And that was a full-time job, and that was my job, and I was, really proud of that. I was 21. And then right after that, I got booked in my first regional theater job, which was Shakespeare, doing Romeo and Juliet at the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C. So I moved down to D.C., I did that play, and then while I was in D.C., my grandmother, who was one of my parents, I grew up in a house with my mother, my grandmother, and my 2 aunts who are, like, closer to my age, so they're like my sisters.
Okay.
But my grandmother, who was one of my parents, got terminally ill. And instead of going back to New York City to kind of continue to audition, I went to Delaware to take care of her in the last 2 years of her life. And I would drive up on the train every now and then to audition for stuff in New York. And, I think I booked a Law and Order during that time. And so, I would go up to New York in those 2 years to do something, for a day or 3 days or something like that. But nothing crazy. I pretty much put my career on hold. And then when she passed away, I was so bored in Delaware, not doing anything, that I started a theater company. And I performed the first play in our theater company a year to the day after she passed away. And that first person who was in that first play that I produced in Delaware was an actress named Lynn Redgrave.
Oh wow! Okay, that's just not an actress. That's an actress.
That's right, a legend.
Now, how did that get to where you got her to produce this? Because you're not really a known name.
No,
I mean, it's Lynn Redgrave. What was the process for you to get a Lynn Redgrave on your first play?
Oh, probably a lot of lying. I'm not gonna lie. I remember it being a really difficult process for me. And I remember getting a lot of shit for it, and I remember Lynn yelling at me a lot, and me fucking up a lot. And, but she, I spent a year raising money to produce one play, and I went around to Delaware, and I had a simple mission, and my mission was, if I took, some prominent person who sat on a board in the arts out to lunch, and I said to that person, I don't want you to give me any money yet. All I want for you to do is give me the names of 2 other people I can take to lunch.
Okay.
And so I did that for a year. And then so when it came time to do our first play, I had enough money to pay somebody like a Lynn Redgrave really well. And so I placed a call to her manager, and it turned out that there was a hole in her schedule, and then I could afford it, and I had the money, and I went to all my donors, all the people who I took out to lunch, and said, Lynn Redgrave's coming, give me money to help her come. But I fucked up a lot throughout that whole time, so there was a lot of consternation and craziness that kind of surrounded it all. But she came, she believed in me, she came and she delivered. That was like my graduate school. It was that performance. Her performance in that play was one of the best that I think I've ever seen her do on film or on stage. So,
what was it like opening night? Because I always ask people who produced movies, and and all of a sudden the movies at let's say Sundance or
right.
plays, actors. But this is you've worked your ass off. It's been a year. You have a name. It's not like you're doing summer stock with Sally Starr or someone.
And it was like in the middle of Delaware, which was the whole thing that was so weird about. You know what I mean? I think I was really nervous. Because again, I can't emphasize this enough. I was fucking up a lot.
Right. How are you fucking up?
Well, we didn't have enough people on our opening night, and our ticket sales weren't doing well, and the support that Lynn needed backstage wasn't happening as much as it should have, and our publicity didn't really go as brilliantly as I had hoped, and there was some. I think there were some challenges with Lynn's hotel accommodations. Just random day-to-day producerial things that you learn better when you're 20. When you're not 23,
right?
You had life experiences. But Lynn was always very. When Lynn wasn't calling me a fucking idiot, she was calling me a fucking genius. And so she understood she understood what I was doing and the vision behind the whole thing. So I think on that opening night, I was just glad that we finally pushed the boulder up the hill.
Yeah,
and that people could watch it after all that craziness.
Did it have good? Did people enjoy when they walked out? Did you have the feel good vibe, and you said, "Okay, man, you know what?
Yeah.
All this shit I've been going through is well worth it."
It was infinitely worth it. It was. I honestly think that it was the best thing that ever happened to my career. To do that, so it was extraordinarily productive, and I was very proud of it. And the production was, I'm sorry, fucking amazing. It was outstanding, and Lynn's performance, like I said, was one of the best I've ever seen her do. She won an award for it. She won a Barrymore Award. There was another actress in the play that also won an award for it. So it was relatively successful.
So you have this under your belt, and now where do you want to go now? Do you sit there? You've had commercial. You've done some commercials. You've acted. You've done this. You have a lot of shit going on for a 23-year-old. When you think about it. So how do you start to focus? Because when we're 23, we can never focus, especially.
Right.
And we get a little cocky. I'm sorry. I used to stand up comedy, and you have a good set when you're 23. You think you're the king of the world.
It's the best thing that ever happened to you.
And then you go eat shit in the Late Show, and you go,
right.
"Oh yeah, maybe I'm not that good." Where do you go from here? Because you had this accomplishment. You had a star. A legend. You as a producer, you hit a home run your first at bat. Where do you go from there?
Well, I kept producing. And then I started directing, and then I at the same theater company. So I just kept going, and we had some major failures. We had one failure, one production that pretty much financially ruined the company because it was a gigantic gamble. It was a play about cold fusion during the summer in the middle of in an inner city,
Right.
pretty much. So it didn't work. But during that time, there was one play that was working that I think that I had produced. I had directed a play at this company that starred Keith David and Jasmine Guy, and it was going to go on a national tour, and I was going to go with it, but I was roughing it out, and I had decided that I wanted to go back into acting. So I was mostly roughing it out in Los Angeles on a friend's couch, but I flew back home, back to New York, to fire a set designer from this tour. And I went into it. I had never fired anybody before. By this point in time, I'm 25. I had never fired anybody before. And so I wrote a "It's not you, it's me" letter, And I couldn't find him. I couldn't get in touch with him. And so I went to his agent. And his agent said, "What are you doing right now?" And I said, "Well, I'm about to fly back to Los Angeles. I'm going to rough it out. I want to get back into acting. I was doing pretty well at it until, this theater company got in the way." And he said, "Well, while you're in New York, do you want to audition for something?" And I said, "Sure." And the first and only thing he sent me out on was 30 Rock.
Now, did you know who was all connected to that when you were going out for the audition, or was it just one of those auditions that they said it's a TV show, or what did you know about?
It was the Untitled Tina Fey project, and they did not have Alec at the time. So I knew who Tina Fey was because of Mean Girls, and I knew she was on Saturday Night Live, but I didn't really know anything about her besides that. And so it was just an audition. I just walked into the audition, and I just kind of I fucking winged it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. And thankfully she found something, good in me.
Was she at the audition, your first audition?
She was not at my first one. She was at my second and third, and then there was a table read with Lorne Michaels, and that's when I got the part.
Now, what's that like? I mean, you think about it, as you say, and I've noticed this talking to a lot of people, that there are certain not weird, but breaks that happen. And of course, when that break happens, the person's always prepared. But for you, I mean, how random is it that you go back to fire somebody and then you get this opportunity? What is it like after you get the first audition when you get the call back? Are you still sitting there going, "I'm just going to wing it"? Because you're probably sort of not really taking it serious.
We have to understand, Steve, human beings don't realize the opportunities that they're given in the time that they're given it.
Okay.
Right? Only in hindsight do I realize that this was an amazing coup. Right? At the time, I was just worried about not looking like an idiot, and then when Lorne Michaels said 2 words to me. Lorne Michaels said, "Good job," and that was it. And so I was just like, all right, when he said good job, does he mean good job, or does he mean bad job? I'm just gonna that's all I could think about at that point in time.
Right, and you also must be going through your head, and you're probably going, "Well, wait a second, they keep calling me back. This is good." And you also must be thinking, "Okay,
they keep calling me back. Why haven't they hired me?"
Yeah, exactly. And also going, this is going to change my life financially.
No, not at the time, because at the time they hired me as a day player.
Okay,
and I just worked every day, but. It was just, it was a small part. They said there was going to be a series regular if the show got picked up. But I wasn't thinking that way because I never thought the show was going to get picked up.
Why didn't you think it was going to get picked up? I mean, you have Lorne Michaels behind it. It's NBC.
Oh, God, dude. You have to remember at the time, Aaron Sorkin had the hot pilot. Aaron Sorkin had Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. And it was about the exact same thing as 30 Rock. And it was on the same network. So when both shows went to pilot, everybody was like, "Well, this is never going to see the light of day." Studio 60 is the hot show, and NBC paid buckets and buckets and buckets of money for it, right? So they were not going to not pick it up, and they're not going to pick up two shows that had the exact same premise on the exact same network. So none of us thought it was. And to be quite honest with you, and I think that Tina would agree with you, the pilot for 30 Rock went through so many rewrites and so many drafts, and was attacked with so many network notes that it was indistinguishable. It was not good. And so so all of us are thinking we're doing this pilot that has been noted to death, and we're up against Goliath, who is, like fucking Aaron Sorkin just coming off The West Wing,
right?
With like the biggest fucking pilot commitment in television history, about the exact same premise that we're doing. Of course they're going to get it, and we're not going to get anything. So, we didn't think we were going to get picked up.
So when did you find out you get picked up? And how is that whole thing happening? I mean, you must have been like, oh my God, we actually got picked up.
Yeah, because, and again, this is like one of those things where people don't realize the remarkable thing in history that's happening while it's happening. Because when it got picked up, I was sitting there going, all right, are they going to ask me back? So I wasn't even thinking oh my God, we got picked up. I was thinking, oh great, that's one hurdle down. Now 800 other hurdles I have to are they going to ask me back? Am I going to be a series regular? Is the show going to bomb before it even airs? Are they, you know what I mean? There was just so many unknowns. None of us knew that we were making a show that would go down in history for anything. Do you know?
Yeah, so you
were just scared.
Yeah, plus when you were all young, and for you, it's one of your one of your first breaks. I mean, you did some little stuff.
No, it is my big break. I just didn't know it at the time.
So it gets picked up, and you're a day player, that's funny. That's the same thing that happened to Jim O'Hare on Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
He was a day player for 2 years, but he's like, holy shit, I'm here every day. And finally they said, okay, you're the brass ring. You're a series regular. You were a day player for 2 years?
For 1 year. I was a guest star. So so they bumped me up from a day player to a guest star, which is basically they just rehire you every week. But I was in every single episode, and then I went off and did a pilot for another show. That show didn't get picked up, and then they hired me as a series regular starting in season 2.
Now, what's that like as an actor? And you're a hustler. I mean, it shows from your plays and all that stuff. What's that like though to finally? It is a stamp of validation, even though you're validated. And I always say, people talk about being in a pilot that doesn't get picked up, but it's well, at least you got a pilot. So many people have never gotten that.
It's incredibly hard to get a pilot, yeah.
And then you get the pilot. You're a guest star. What is it like for you personally when you sit there and they go, okay, come on in, Keith. You're going to be a series regular. That must be an amazing feeling.
It was hard fought. I mean, there was a lot. Again, dude, I don't want to make it sound like I'm being ungrateful, but I don't. Those are not things that I think about while it's happening. I think about. The fact that I've been asked to be a series regular when I had been begging to be a series regular for the past year, and then. So at least there's some sort of job security going into next year. But then I don't know if I'm going to have a job security because the show's still on the verge of being canceled. Jeff Zucker did not like the show.
Okay.
The president of NBC didn't like it. So the only reason why we stayed on the air is because we won an Emmy. And then the only reason why we stayed on the air for the second year is because we won another Emmy. We were on the verge of cancellation until at least season 3. So I was always going, that's really great, and then we're going to get canceled. I was looking at I was the Eeyore of the whole thing.
Okay.
Like, oh God, what's going to happen now? You know what I mean? Oh,
So what was it like working with those guys though? Like you seemed like to have good camaraderie. I mean, it must have been a lot of fun.
they were amazing. They were amazing. I mean, I Tina Fey is everything you want a boss to be. And she handles it with such class and dignity and intelligence and fierceness that it's really intimidating, frankly. And you know, I'm insanely close with the cast. As a matter of fact, a few of the cast members who live in Los Angeles all had dinner together last weekend. We became family. We fell in love with each other, and working with them was an incredible education for me because I was really young, and not as experienced as some of the other people, and I really didn't know. I really didn't know the protocols for working on a scene or how a scene got shot or anything like that. I was just winging it, you know what I mean? And I learned so much because everybody was so patient and kind to me during it. I mean, there were a few people behind the scenes who weren't so kind, but that was like 6% of the people that I worked with, so the other 94% of the times were so supportive and lovely and wonderful that it was the best thing that ever happened to me because my entire work ethic and my entire craft and technique was founded on Lynn Redgrave and 30 Rock and Tina Fey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what was it like working with Tracy Morgan? I know a guy who used to write for him on Saturday Night Live. This guy, Keyshawn Shannon. And T said, he'd always be up late writing with Tracy. And he said, writing and working with Tracy is like taking when you're up on the peak of that roller coaster and it's coming down and it's out of control, but everything's going to be all right at the end. What was it like working with him? Because he's so freaking, like, even when he would show up on Letterman, he's just
unpredictable.
Crack me up. He'd just be saying shit that if anyone else said, it would not be funny. But when he says it, you're pissing in your pants.
That's the thing about Tracy. First of all, like, Tracy is one of the most genuine, open-hearted human beings you will ever meet in your life. And Tracy's entire motto is he wants to breathe funny. He doesn't want to think up some complex, well-thought-out joke. He wants to be able to that everything that he thinks, everything he does, everything he says is just is just part of his comedy. And so Tracy's made it his mission to just live comedy. And so that's what makes the unpredictableness of Tracy so endearing and interesting. You know what I mean? I had the dressing room right across from Tracy. He and I are like brothers. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. And Tracy, having the dressing room across from Tracy is not always the most relaxing thing for you. He always blares loud music. He has an endless parade of people coming through his dressing room. He watches porn in his dressing room and calls me over to watch it with him. Like the man is like totally unpredictable, and lives life with an exclamation point. But I actually think. But when I think back about the people that I miss the most from doing the show, Tracy is the person I miss the most.
So as the show starts getting popular and you start getting recognized, because it had a cool following and had a hip following, what is that like? And you're still young. In Hollywood terms, what is it like to be in a hit show, a show that's not only, there's shows that are hits that you watch and they suck. I mean, let's get real. There's some shows you sit there, you go, oh my God. But your show was so sharp. It was very innovative. It was original, and it did beat Goliath, as we said.
Right.
What is that like for you, all of a sudden, walking around? What's it like to start getting recognized? And it was probably, you're not like a soap opera guy getting recognized by old housewives.
Right.
You get recognized by like fucking hip people. What was that like for you? I mean, it had to be an eye-opening the first time it started happening.
I gotta tell you, like Matt Damon knew who I was before I met him. Julianne Moore was able to recall scenes that I did that she thought I did good, that I was a good actor in. Like, it was surreal. It was surreal. And, we never really got it in New York City because, like, in New York City, you ride the subway and the same homeless guy pees on you, and it's not glamorous to just be amongst everybody in New York City, right? But every time we flew to LA for an award show or a press conference or something, people would stop us and people in the industry would stop us and really compliment us. So it was always this magical thing that we would touch down into, and being a young guy in the middle of all that, I was just happy to be along for the ride, and that I got to wear a tuxedo and used it as a great way to bring hot dates to award shows. Right. You know what I mean? One of the, I guess it wasn't. I was going to say one of the first, but I started taking my wife, my girlfriend at the time, my wife, to these award shows, and it became a fun thing for us where we'd be like, all right, so what are you going to wear? What are you going to wear for this? And that was a great thing for as a young guy to be able to do for his girlfriend. You know what I mean?
What was working with Baldwin like? Because Alec Baldwin's a guy who's, when you think about Baldwin, he's really reinvented himself many times. People who are younger don't understand that, but I mean, he was in the movies. I mean, I'm 52, and he's been around forever.
Oh yeah,
and he was for a while. He was like the heartthrob.
He's reinventing himself today. He's hosting a game show now.
See, it's just he's hosting. My friend just won $25,000 on that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So, what was it like working with him? Because there's a guy who, honestly, you always think of him as a dramatic actor. He's got comedy chops out the ass. Even going back to the SNL when he would sweaty balls and all that. The guy knows how to deliver a line. What's it like to work with someone who is iconic? I mean, that must be something amazing for you too when you're younger and you can watch and learn.
Well, Alec was a force of nature. Right? I mean, so for the first couple of years, I just did not want to be in his path in case he got upset. Right? So all I was doing in the first couple of years was just going, minding my P's and Q's and not saying much. But I will tell you, watching him, the thing that I learned the most from Alec, and subsequently, Alec and I became really good friends, and found out that that he's not as much of a force of nature as I originally thought, and that he's just, that he's a genuine person and wears his heart on his sleeve. But the thing about Alec that I learned the most while watching him work, that has always stayed with me, is that man knows how to give just enough in his performance at certain moments for it to cut together incredibly well. He just got the rhythm of filming, and he would go, all right, I'm only going to give you half here because you're going to get this side of my face. I'm going to give you full here because you've got me in a medium shot. I'm going to, he understood what part of him to give at what moment. And I thought that was masterful, just masterful to watch.
So you're doing the show, you're learning a lot, and then you decide to do a web series that Keith Powell directs the play.
Right.
Now, how did that come up? Is that something that you said, okay, I can do this now? And was it based on you when you were Was it based on your Wilmington days of
Yes.
producing stuff? And how did you put your name? I love when people say they're like third person. How did you decide just to do Keith Powder? I mean, and what did you do in this, and how long did it take to put together?
Oh man, that was the very first web series I did, and it was basically a friend of mine came to me and said it was during the writer's strike, so web series was all we could do, and a friend of mine came to me and said, "Do you want to do this?" I said, "Why not?" And we thought it would be really funny if we make fun of my theater days and make me be an incredibly vain and arrogant and egotistical person who actually always fails up.
Okay.
And like always somehow like delivers brilliance even though he is completely too self-centered to even notice what he's doing. I mean, kind of like the Donald Trump of the theater world.
Okay.
and
I gotta interrupt you. Isn't it just amazing? I mean, I watch it and it's just you're so dead on what you just said. It's
a comedy bit.
For me. Yeah, I said it's like Ron Livingston's character in Office Space.
It totally is, man. And I kind of like I listen, man. I can talk about politics for hours, but watching Trump, it would be the best comedy. It would be the best, just Lenny Bruce kind of live action performance if it wasn't so fucking scary.
Right.
That this man like could have his like finger on nuclear codes. But he is just, it's staggering. I'm wordless. It's staggering. But anyway.
So your character is somewhat like him, just implodes, but then for some reason
somehow
they go, "Oh my God, that was brilliant!"
Exactly. And so we just did it. Aubrey Plaza. I've known Aubrey Plaza since she was about 12, and it was. I swear to God, this is what happened. Aubrey came back to Delaware. We shot it in Delaware. Aubrey came back to Delaware to shoot it with us, and the next day she's like, "I'm going to do these meetings in L.A." For a movie called Funny People and for a show called Parks and Recreation. I hope I get it. and so Aubrey got on a plane the next day to go and audition for Parks and Recreation.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so we did it, and it was one of those things where it was a friend of mine said, "Let's do it," and I said, "Sure, let's do it," and then we did it. And it was fun. It was fun to do. It was so relieving to do something with friends, with people you've known your whole life.
Now, as you're doing that, also, I mean, 30 Rock's continuing. What was it like when you knew it was going to end? Because you must have been so close. And I always talk to people who've done shows for many years, and it's not only with the other actors; it's with the crew. What was the whole? Did 30 Rock decide in the beginning how many seasons they would do, or what was the whole?
We had it better than other shows, where we knew at the beginning of the 7th season that it would be the last. So we weren't canceled like in the middle and like blue ball. You know what I mean? Like we did know we were going into our last season, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was absolutely depressed. I was completely depressed. I thought I thought my career was over. We went. I bought a house in Los Angeles, so I was flying back and forth from LA to New York to do the last season, and it was painful. It was painful. It was painful. It was a painful. It was painful. And my life was changing dramatically at that point because I was also getting married. I sold my apartment in New York. We bought this house. It was, and the show was ending, and it was painful. It was hard.
So once it ends, what do you decide you have to do? I mean, because you're still. I mean, it's like anything. You're a part of a hot show, so it's not like you don't have any buzz about you. I mean, what do you in your mind? Which direction do you want to go? Do you want to? I mean, do you sit there and say, I would like to be in another sitcom, or I want to try drama? I mean, what is going through? Or maybe did you ever think you might want to do theater again?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about all of that, but honestly, I wanted to go where the wind took me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be in a room with people that wanted me, and so I didn't work for a year, and then almost a year to the day of my last day on 30 Rock, I got a phone call out of the blue for an offer to recur on About a Boy, the show About a Boy on NBC. It lasted for 2 seasons.
It was a good show. My girlfriend used to watch it all the time.
It was a solid show. It was a solid show, and I loved that crew. And so I did About a Boy, and it rescued me because I realized that that there is life after 30 Rock. And while I was doing About a Boy, I said to myself, you know what? I would really love to direct. I would really love to direct television. And so I started down that path. I started looking into directing episodic television.
Now, why do you think, I mean, it seems like a lot of actors go that route, too. What is it that made you want to go that route? Just because you love the process, you have a background in theater, you've directed theater. What made you sit there and go, you know what? I want to be a director because it's a lot longer of a day. We're going to say that. But
oh, my God, it is.
I mean, it's like 18 times longer.
And, my quote currently for an episode is more as an actor than it is as a director. So it's less money, too.
So how do you crack into that, seeing that, you didn't direct any of the 30 Rock episodes, right?
Mm-mm.
So how do you go about it? Because, people, they remember you from the show, but they don't really remember you directing. How do you try to get in and open doors to get this done?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean, I'm doing a program through NBC right now, and it's a directing program where NBC basically, brings minority directors in to shadow other shows in the hopes of directing an episode. And so we'll see, how that goes. I'll do some other programs that would do the same thing. I directed a new web series that I'm infinitely proud of, called Keith Broke His Leg.
Yeah, tell my listeners about that, and tell me. And once again, it seems like I've done some reading on it. It seems like a great idea, and you have your name in there, which is always great.
So I mean, that was the thing. Like once I established that, my stuff would have my name in it. I think it's now just funny to always name a web series after me. Frankly, maybe I'm the only person who thinks that's funny.
Well, actually, it's funny. Years ago, when the internet came out, I was in a web series. It was called Steve Cooper, Not So Funny Guy, and I played a really bad comedian. And my buddy edited it and directed it, and it was great. I just fucked around, and when I saw it, I went, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" But I loved it's just the name's funny when it says, Keith Dowler. It just makes makes us seem so full of ourselves. Well, but the character wasn't.
Well, that's why I named this show Keith Broke His Leg because I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was funny, to that you name it something, it's such an arrogant thing to name a show after you, and then to make it where where it has an injury attached to it, but honestly, I did Keith Broke His Leg because it was creatively fulfilling. I wanted to tell stories about my life, that I don't think that the current dialogue explores. I think that I think that my experiences as a non-stereotypical minority is really funny and interesting, and I wanted to tell those stories, and I wanted to do it in my own way. I didn't want to do it in any other. I wanted to tell comedy in the way that I like to tell comedy, which is very honest and grounded, and you build to a joke. It's not, you don't immediately assume that an audience will find you funny. You earn their trust in the episode, and so I wanted to do it, and so I self-funded the first season, and it was the most creatively fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. And I've used it as a calling card for me as a director, but it's also a great calling card for me as a writer and me as an actor, because it is so autobiographical. Pretty much everything that happens in the show has happened to me in life. And I think it's really fucking funny.
Now, how do you tackle the autobiography stuff? Because, like anything, we're all sensitive. If you're writing something that's funny that is about you, and if someone doesn't laugh, it's like anything when you say something funny and you get bent out of shape. How do you pick and choose, and how did you start that whole process? I mean, you sit there and go, okay, I have this idea. This happened to me. How do you go about writing that? And is there a lot of drafts included, or do you pretty much nail it the first time?
Well, that's a couple part question, because there is, I always tell people that I put the events of my life in a blender and hit puree, and that's really what you see. So it's not word for word things that's happened. It's like little bits all put together, blended together to tell a narrative. And the way I go about that is, if it feels dangerous and unsafe, it's probably a good idea to do it. Just because the whole point is that I'm supposed to be exposing parts of myself and my heart, and I can't do that that's a dangerous thing. That's an unsafe thing, but I really think that an audience would appreciate it. And so what I did was I wrote the first. I structured the whole thing. I mapped out the whole thing. I structured it. And then I wrote the first draft, and I only gave myself one rewrite. Because my thought was, if it's coming out of me honestly, then we probably shouldn't fuck with it too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many episodes is it?
10 episodes.
Okay, so now, does your character build up throughout the episodes, or are they all basically single vignette episodes?
They are self-contained, but every episode is about something. And I say that in a very artsy-fartsy way, but I feel like the character of Keith discovers a particular truth about the world that he didn't learn before in each episode. And it's about something different in each episode. I mean, one of them is about masturbating. Okay. So, the truth doesn't have to be, particularly brilliant. But I mean, actually, that's a lie that the episode about masturbating is just about masturbating. But it's kind of in that model. It's not. It's about somebody kind of going into the deeper aspects of why the world exists in that way, and they're all self-contained.
Now, what is it like directing yourself?
Ha! Ha ha! Oh boy, very fucking difficult, and I look like a lunatic. Because seriously, what happens is I turn on the camera. They turn on the camera, and I go, all right, I'm going to do the line like this, and I do the line, and then I stop and I go, I just keep rolling, and then I just do the line in 5 different ways, and just say I'll figure it out in post. So that's pretty much what happens.
Now, would you ever want to get to the point where you could direct your own self in an episodic, or do you think that would just be insane? And how long would you have to wait till you think you were actually ready for that? Because
I would like to get some more experience under my belt before I do it. I do think that I would want to get there, but I feel like when you have millions of dollars on the line, and so many moving parts, it's best to do only one job at that point, until you've got it so down that you can jump between different jobs.
now you also were on 2 episodes of The Newsroom.
Yeah.
Now, what was that like when, because basically you're part of the people that slayed Goliath. What was that like working with Sorkin? Because you got to be a little bent out of shape. As you said, it was such a huge thing, and all of a sudden 30 Rock comes out as this prince. What was it like working with him? And did you feel he was honestly, like
Sorkin's awesome. Like he had, but we talked about it. He had such good humor about it. He guest starred on an episode of 30 Rock. He said to me, like, "Oh man, you guys really got it right, and I really got it wrong." But Sorkin, Sorkin's great. The only negative I feel like I had on that set was that, like, you got a note about the fact that you didn't place a comma in the right place when you were saying the line. Like, it is he, word for word, comma for comma, breath for breath, pause for pause, he scripts it out, and that's what you see on any episode of a Sorkin show is what Sorkin wrote verbatim, including the pauses. It's masterful. So it took a lot of my concentration to do, but I mean, it was a fun experience. I really liked it.
Now, are you going to do more of the Broken Leg web series, or just?
I am. Okay. I'm in the middle of writing it now. I'm writing a second season right now, and I got some crazy ideas, and I want to speak to more things that are happening in the world and in our politics. Like I want to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement more, and just different things that are kind of happening in the world and showing a spotlight on the world, and because this was such a creatively fulfilling endeavor for me, I feel like that this is the best venue to do it on.
Now, do you write them all and then shoot them, or do you write a few then shoot them? How do you do it?
The first season, I wrote 7 episodes, shot 7 episodes, and then went back and wrote 5 more, and then dropped 2. So to get me to 10.
Okay.
But this season, I'm going to write all 10. I'm just going to write all 10.
And now your wife's in it.
Yeah.
Now, what's it like directing her? And you have to be because we all know, no matter what we do, the women always run our houses.
Man.
Does she ever get pissed at you?
Oh, dude, listen. It was, even my wife will admit it. It was pretty hard. It was pretty difficult. First of all, Jill didn't like it. Didn't like the script. And so that I had to get over that hurdle. Like, Jill read it and was like, "I don't get it. It's not funny. It doesn't make any sense." And I kept just saying, "Well, trust me. I know what I'm doing." And then cut to, like, we're editing it and I'm showing her cuts and she goes, "Oh, that's what you were doing." But she didn't like it at first. And she doesn't like being directed by me. She doesn't like being told what to do.
Okay. Will she be in next season?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, when...
But I want to say, and then, of course, so Jill didn't like being directed by me, and then, of course, she fucking runs away with the show. She's all anybody talks about on the show. She's her star shines so bright on this show, it eclipses me. It's like,
Well, that's good.
Yeah, listen, I'm so proud of her. I'm totally fine with that.
That's awesome. So now, what else is coming up for you? We only have a few minutes left. What else we got coming up? Anything?
I'm focusing on the directing program at NBC. I'm trying to build a career as an episodic director, and we'll see what happens with that.
Now, you're a Twitter guy.
I am.
Now, what's your Twitter handle?
Keith Powell, KeithPowell. And if you tweet at me, I try to respond in some way. I might just click like, but sometimes I might answer. So if anybody tweets me, I will respond.
See, you started following me on Twitter. I don't even know how you found me. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I devote a certain amount of time to my day to just follow a group of people that may want to follow me back.
Okay.
People think that I'm some sort of robot or something because I now follow so many people. But it's plugging away every day. It's like 45 minutes a day, just following a bunch of people, and then hoping that they follow me back, and then unfollowing those people that didn't follow me back, and then starting the process over again.
Now, where can people find your web series?
Yes, please, getbroken.com.
Getbroken.com.
Yeah. Or you can just Google Keith broke his leg, and it'll come up immediately.
And you also,
which I also find funny that you could just, if you Google, Keith Powell broke his leg, the show will come up. I don't know why I find that so funny.
It's just random. It's like, now what happens if one day you actually do break your leg and someone tries to get the article? Then they're going to go, holy shit, there's a whole series. I just want to find out if he broke his leg. And now you have a website also.
Yeah. My website is powelltothepeople.net.
And what can we find there?
Oh, you can email me directly, and you'll see very pretty photos of me. I'm very pretty.
You look very good. You were very dressed very nicely.
Well, thank you. Thank you kindly. That's it.
So it's at Keith Powell.
Yes.
Broken.
And Twitter is really the thing that I respond to most. So Twitter is really the place to find me. You can also find me on Facebook at Real Keith Powell, but I check that less frequently.
Okay. And once again, the link to your to the web series.
Getbroken.com. GETBROKEN.com.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. This is fun.
Oh, Steve, it's been such a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
No problem. So, people, you gotta follow Keith, and just go watch old 30 Rocks. It's just so funny, when you watch old shows. It's like when I watch old Seinfelds. You go back and these shows are brilliant. You forget because you haven't seen it for a while, and you watch and you go, "Holy crap, this is great!" Yeah. So follow him at.
It really does. It really does hold up, that show.
Exactly. So we want everyone to follow at Keith Powell. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Cooper Talk. That's at Cooper Talk. You can go to my website www.coopertalk.net, where I have 440 or 540 episodes up. That's Cooper. Coopertalk.net. Tomorrow or Thursday, I'll be posting the Tracy Guns, who was one of the original founders of Guns N' Roses. So I get musicians too. That episode will be up. Also, don't forget my other website, stopthesalt.com. When I went through my heart problem a few years ago, I had to change my diet completely. So I knew how to cook before, but I had to really watch my sodium intake. So Stop the Salt is stopthesalt.com. That's my cookbook. And what you can do is, it's 120 recipes. There's no pictures to intimidate you, because everyone, especially guys, look at pictures and go, holy crap. And there's not a bunch of ingredients you won't need. I use cumin, but the book doesn't have any cumin. So you can go check that out, buy the book. You can get it at barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. But if you get it from me, I make more money and I will sign it. Also, Instagram's Cooper Talk 1. Words with Friends, Cooper Talk 1. I will play you. I swear, I love playing some people. I found some guy was cheating on the other day because he was like, there's this word power thing. And this guy's just making up this shit I've never heard of. And he's dropping like 50 points, 60 points. No one's that smart. So do that. And as I said, go to coopertalk.net. Email me, Cooper at coopertalk.net. Follow Keith Powell. Just Google Keith Powell breaks his leg and watch the series. And that's about it. So you guys, I want you to have a good weekend. Keep listening to internet radio, on all my stations out there. I love you guys are playing me. So don't forget, I'm Steve Cooper. I'm only as hip as my guest. Don't forget, drink your water, eat your vegetables, and take your vitamins. And I will talk to you guys next week. And once again, follow me on @CooperTalk because the Olympics are coming up, and I like to tweet about that stuff. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next time.